If you thought Samsung was done improving Exynos after the Exynos 2600, think again. A new leak is now saying that the next chip, the Exynos 2700, is getting a very big design change. And this change is not about making the chip faster, it is about keeping it cooler. Now, you might be wondering, why does cooling matter so much? Well, even the fastest phone chip in the world becomes slower when it gets too hot. This is called thermal throttling. When a chip heats up too much, it has to reduce its speed to stop itself from overheating. That means your games can lose FPS, videos can slow down, and heavy apps may not run as smoothly after using them for some time. Samsung wants to fix that. According to this new leak, Samsung is changing the way the Exynos 2700 is built. In the previous Exynos 2600, the RAM was placed very close to the main chip inside the package. This helped save space, but there was one problem. Since both parts were so close together, they shared heat. When the processor got hot, the memory also became hot. That is not the best situation if you want long-lasting performance. Now, with the Exynos 2700, Samsung is expected to separate the RAM from the main chip. Instead of putting everything together, the memory will sit separately. Think about it like two people standing in a small room. If one person is standing next to a heater, the other person also feels the heat. But if they move farther apart, the second person stays much cooler. That is basically what Samsung is trying to do here. By keeping the RAM separate from the processor, heat can spread more easily and the chip should stay cooler while doing heavy work. This may not sound exciting at first, but it could make a huge difference in real-world use. Imagine playing a heavy game for 1 hour. Usually, many phones start strong, but after some time they become warm and performance drops. If Samsung gets this right, the Exynos 2700 could keep running at high speed for much longer before slowing down. That means smoother gaming, better video editing, faster app performance, and a better overall experience. But Samsung is not stopping there. The leak also says Samsung will continue using something called the Heat Pass Block, or HPB. You don't really need to remember the name, just think of it as a special part that helps move heat away from the processor faster. So instead of letting heat stay trapped inside the chip, it spreads the heat more quickly, helping everything stay cooler. And there's even more. Samsung is also expected to add a larger vapor chamber inside some Galaxy S27 phones. If you've heard of vapor chambers before, they work like advanced cooling systems. Instead of using tiny cooling parts, a vapor chamber spreads heat across a much larger area. This helps prevent one small spot from becoming extremely hot. So now Samsung is combining several cooling methods together. The RAM is separated, the heat pass block is still there, and a vapor chamber is also expected to help cool the phone. All of these things are working together to improve thermal performance. Interestingly, Samsung is not the only company thinking this way. The leak says Apple's upcoming A20 Pro is also expected to use a similar design, where the memory and processor are arranged differently to improve cooling. So both Samsung and Apple seem to agree on one thing. Instead of only chasing higher benchmark scores, they also want their chips to stay fast for a longer time. Because what's the point of having a super powerful processor if it only performs well for 5 minutes before slowing down? Now let's talk about Qualcomm. According to the same leak, the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro is also expected to include a heat pass block, but the report claims Samsung's cooling design may actually be better. Of course, this is still a leak, so we have to wait for official testing before saying which chip performs better. Real-world tests will always tell the full story. Then we have MediaTek. The leak says the upcoming Dimensity 9600 may not include any extra cooling improvements like Samsung and Apple. If that turns out to be true, MediaTek could fall behind when it comes to keeping temperatures under control during heavy workloads. Again, nothing is official yet, so we should wait until these chips are released. Now, here's something important to remember. A cooler chip does not automatically mean a faster chip, but it usually means the chip can keep its performance for much longer. That's something many users actually notice every day. Whether you're gaming, recording 4K or 8K videos, editing content, or simply using your phone for a long time, better cooling can make your phone feel faster for longer. And honestly, this could be one of Samsung's smartest upgrades. For years, people have complained that Exynos chips become hot too quickly. Samsung seems to have listened. Instead of only increasing speed, they're trying to solve one of the biggest problems users have been talking about. If this leak turns out to be true, the Exynos 2700 could become one of Samsung's biggest improvements in years. Of course, we still need official announcements and real-life testing before we know how good it really is. Leaks are exciting, but they're still leaks. We'll keep watching as more information comes out. Also, if you missed my previous video where I talked about the Exynos 2700 and Samsung's latest chipset developments, make sure you go back and watch it because it connects perfectly with everything we discussed today. And if you enjoy simple tech videos that explain complicated topics in an easy way, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below. I would love to know what you think. Do you believe Samsung can finally beat the heating problems of older Exynos chips, or do you think we should wait before getting too excited? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.